All right. Good morning, everybody. It's 10 a.m. in Las Vegas, Nevada, United States. My name is Richard Barakat. Hope everyone is doing well. I wanted to talk about U.S. company and diaspora guide to hiring Nigerian independent contractors. Have been hiring Nigerian workers now for the past 5 years since I started my export business, focusing on Nigeria in 2020. I just wanted to share with you some of my experiences and some of the mistakes and the successes that I've had over the past 5 years working with and hiring Nigerian independent workers. So I have a few talking points here that I'm going to cover. We're going to talk about why I personally feel that US companies should start looking beyond other markets and into the Nigerian market. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why you should hire Nigerian independent contractors. Um, we're going to talk about some of the key sectors where you can source talent, the legal and contractual considerations. Very, very important. We're also going to talk about payments and financial systems, how to pay your employees. We're going to talk about trust and verification, and as well as some of the practical tips for diaspora and US businesses. So you guys can just be safe and make sure that you are optimizing to actually hire people and not just collecting resumes. There's a difference. There's a difference there. Some companies I know, they just want to sit there and look through hundreds and hundreds of resumes, which can be very time consuming for hiring managers. And the same too goes for like recruiters and recruiting firms. When you're dealing with these companies overseas, or you're dealing with a Nigerian in the diaspora that's looking for help in Nigeria, you always aim to optimize for finding them the best talent out there possible. So what is important? So for hiring managers and also for US companies, same for diasporans abroad looking for local talent. When you are working with recruiting companies or a recruiter, one thing that I recommend that you do is to list the top 3 skill set that you're looking for, that if that candidate were to possess those specific skill set, you would hire them for the job or hire them for the product, for the project. The goal here, guys, the goal here is to hire talent. It's not to look at resumes. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's the goal. So we're going to talk about the talent pool. So now, obviously, as you know, Nigeria is an English-speaking country. It's growing in workforce. They're skilled in several sectors. You're looking at like technology, whether you're looking for creative services or even professional services. Nigeria has a skilled workforce to be able to meet your hiring needs. Obviously, the cost advantages there. Competitive labor rates compared to, let's say, the European market or even the United States market. Super competitive, even to, let's say, if you're looking to hire from Pakistan or even India or China. Nigeria is competitive when it comes to workforces. Like you look at, for instance, our website. When I was looking for a web developer to build the Berricat.com, you guys go ahead and check it out, by the way. That site is actually on the WordPress stack. I hired a web designer in Port Harcourt, Nigeria, and they built it to the specifications that I was looking for. So the stack doesn't really matter, whether it's a WordPress stack or whether you're looking at building on Wix, or if you are in the e-commerce space and you're looking at building, let's say, a Shopify store. These talents are out there. They're out there. So don't limit yourself to recruiting from Pakistan or India or China. Start looking at African talent. They can definitely get you the resources that you need. So the obviously the time zone benefits, you got to be aware that depending on where you are in the United States, Nigeria at any given time, depending on the season, is either 8 hours or 9 hours ahead. So that is very, very important to know. So for instance, I'm recording this at 10 a.m. US time. It is 6 p.m. Yes. So Nigeria is 8 hours ahead. So it's 6 p.m. Nigeria time. Now, when we is it fall forward? We're coming up on four here. So we're going to be, I think we're losing an hour or we're gaining an hour. Then Nigeria is going to be 9 hours ahead. So these are things that you should definitely know. So the diaspora bridge, I got a text message today from a Nigerian out in Virginia that's building remotely. He's actually building a project remotely from Virginia in Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria, and he's using obviously Nigerian talent, and he's able to manage his project from right here directly in the United States. I did advise him though to go ahead and install CCTV camera on his work site because I have the same CCTV installation at my job site in Nigeria, where at any given time on my phone, utilizing the app for that particular CCTV, I'm able to literally monitor and watch my workers in real time as they are working on my site. So that's one of the things that I recommended for him to do, and he's actually going to do that. So that way you have peace of mind knowing that you can be based in the United States, based in Europe, wherever you are, in North America, Canada, Mexico, and you could work, literally monitor your team back home in Nigeria. So much so that you can also, through that CCTV camera, communicate directly with them if you want to. I mean, I've had situations where just to kind of play along and throw a little bit of a fun little time there, I would sit here and I would talk to my team in Nigeria through that CCTV cameras. And I kind of like that, knowing that um, their employer is actually watching them work and appreciates what they are doing. So before we dive deeper into it, let's go into the second phase, is the key sectors where you can source talent as a US company, or even as a diaspora. And you can source talent in the technology space, whether it's software development, like I mentioned, web application design, data analysis, advertising and marketing, in the creative services, video editing. I mean, I've had people go out there and shoot videos for me. I've had them go out there and shoot photography for me, all remotely too, from the US. Graphic designers, a bunch of them in Nigeria, where they're looking at advertising, copywriter, social media management, as far as like the creative services go. So anything you can think of, if you can hire the talent in the United States, if you can hire the talent in Europe, you can also hire that talent in Nigeria. It's just all about having an open mind and knowing that if you're looking at saving money, and you want the best out there, start looking beyond the Western markets for talent. Professional services, whether you're looking for accounting, you're looking for a virtual assistant, customer support, or you're looking for a business professional, and this is for more tailored to Nigerians in the diaspora. You're looking for someone to help you a open and register a business. You can find them directly in Nigeria. Now, someone asked me the other day, can you open a bank account from the United States as a Nigerian diaspora and as a Nigerian citizen from the US? Unfortunately, you cannot. You have to physically be in Nigeria to be able to open a personal or business bank account. But what you can do on the US side is you can get what is called a BVN number. That is your biometrics. This is the information that you are going to need. Without a BVN number, you cannot open a bank account in Nigeria. And that is very simple to do. You could walk into a local Nigerian embassy, wherever you are. I got my BVN done in Atlanta. It was either, because I'm based here in Las Vegas, Nevada. So the choice that I had was either go to Los Angeles and get the BVN done there or get it done in Atlanta. I was going to Atlanta anyway, to the US Embassy there. So I figured, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and get it done while they're in Atlanta. And it takes It doesn't take long. It takes only about an hour to get your BVN done, and also it's free. But you have to pay $50 processing fee. So what happens is when they're capturing your biometrics, you're going to get fingerprinted. They are going to capture your facial imagery for facial recognition. And then obviously, you pay the processing fee, $50. At that time, though, when I did mine in 2020, it was $100. But now it's $50. And within a week, you'll get your BVN number emailed to you. Keep that number private, though. That is the number that you are going to need in order to be able to open your bank account in Nigeria. So you have to physically, though, you have to physically travel. Unfortunately, there's no way around it. You cannot, I mean, you can do it where they can have everything pre-arranged for you. So then when you touch the ground in Nigeria, all you got to do is walk into the bank with whoever that you're dealing with, and they'll open your bank account for you. Now, if it's a business account, which I highly recommend for those who are investing in Nigeria, you need to have a business account as well. But you are going to need a business certificate through the C. I forget. I know it's the CAC. It's called the CAC, but I don't know what it stands for. So the CAC is the business agency in Nigeria that issues licenses or business certificates to business owners. So you're gonna take that information, walk into the bank with your BVN, and open your bank account. So all of this falls into like the professional services. I mean, there are people there. I'm gonna talk to you guys a little bit about how I found my business agent. This is the person that I've been using now for 5 years. Everything that I need done in Nigeria, from registering my business to doing my car registration when I exported my car from here to Nigeria. This individual was a person that helped me register my car. They got all my paperwork done for me. Um, every year I renew my insurance. I go through them. They handle everything for me, end to end, soup to nuts. So I don't have to think too much or worry too much about it. Construction and trade support talent is also there. For those who are looking at building back home, we are currently in that process right now. You can find workers, construction workers, project managers, building engineers, electricians, you name it. They are all there for you. But here's one thing I have to say, though: get away, get away, get far away from hiring family members to work for you. That is the fastest way that you could get yourself in a compromising position. Um, it's actually one of the fastest where you can actually have family disputes. And I've been there before, in the past with them, because I didn't know any better back then. Sending my brothers and sisters to do this and that for me, not knowing that there are actually outlets out there that I could reach out to and utilize and actually hire professional services. Because here's the thing: your family member, unless, let's say, for instance, you're in the construction space and you want to build a property in Nigeria, they don't know anything about construction. They don't know anything about project management. They don't know anything about sourcing. And also, they may not have your best interest at heart. If you really think about that, you love them, they love you. But if you really want to get something done back home in Nigeria, you need to start looking into hiring professionals to do the work for you. So the legal and contractual considerations, we're going to talk about that. As far as like the classifications, you got to understand the difference between employees and independent contractors under US and Nigerian law. Currently, the minimum wage, I think the monthly minimum wage in Nigeria right now is 80,000 naira. So you take 80,000 naira and then you divide it by 1,500. Yeah, because the dollar right now is it's between 1485 to 1,500 naira. That's the current exchange rate as of today that I'm recording this, October 2nd, 2025. Is it going to continue? And I'm going to make a video about that too. Is it going to continually drop, or is it going to go up? I mean, I've exchanged USD as high as like 1750, and as low as right now, like the last transaction that I did was a dollar to 1500 naira. But other platforms that you use, it may be higher or it may be lower. So it's really good for you to understand like this contractual agreements, and also written contracts. We're going to talk about that. Are they necessarily needed? Um, it kind of depends, though. It depends on how much of a how involved you are in the process. But you may not necessarily need to have a written contract, but it's good to have some sort of like memorandum of understanding, whether that comes through as you're vetting the people to work with. Make sure that everything is documented. Everything that they say is documented, whether it's via WhatsApp, which is actually the mode of communication that I use. I generally don't use emails unless I am sending them something. But for the most part, whatever requirements that I have for my workers is done through through WhatsApp, because it's just easy for me to go back and reference back to what we talked about, or reference back on the rate that they quoted me, or the agreement that we had. It's just so much easier for me to do it that way than via email. Dispute resolution, clauses, got to look into like the governing law and jurisdiction, depending on the state that you're that your workers are based. So compliance, basically the same thing. Whatever applies to the United States side mostly applies to Nigerian side. Obviously, you don't want a sweatshop situation where you're underpaying people, but you also don't want to overpay as well. You want to pay the market rate. As far as like payments and financial system goes, what are some of the payment methods you can use? A popular payment method is Payoneer. Now you have like others like Wise. You could do Paystack. You could do this is for people now. Like if you're in the United States, let's say, so there's two ways around this. You can do this. If you're an actual US company and you don't have, let's say, a bank account or a Naira bank account in Nigeria, the best app that I've used or I've seen others use is Payoneer. Now there's a fee that comes with that, which you don't pay that fee. It's the recipient, it's the worker that pays that transaction fee. So let's say you're in a situation where you hired someone at $1,000 a month. All you have to do is just send them $1,000 a month through Payoneer. They are going to receive that money in Naira. Now, whatever fee that Payoneer charges them to receive that money in USD, the employee absorbs that fee, not the employer. Now, this is something that actually can be negotiated into the salary, right? Through the compensation package. When you're doing this, you really want to have this dialed in. Who is going to cover that Payoneer fee? Is it going to be the employer, or is it going to be the employee receiving that money? Now, it's different if you are a if you have a Nigerian, like in my case, I bank with EcoBank Nigeria. So within EcoBank, I have 5 accounts within EcoBank. So I have the Rich and Bariket local Naira account, which is the currency there in Nigeria. I have Rich and Bariket US dollar account. I have Bariket Ventures Naira account, and I also have Bariket Ventures US dollar account. And I actually also have one more. I have the Bariket Ventures export account. So I have 5 different bank accounts through one single bank, EcoBank. Now, some may ask, well, why don't I diversify the banks that I use? I personally like to keep things simple. And I know some people out there, they have multiple banks. Um, I don't know why. I don't know why they need more than one, but I always feel like Nigeria has a very robust capital market system. They have a very robust banking system that can compete with any bank in the world. Why do I need more than one bank? In the United States, I bank with the Navy Federal Credit Union. My personal bank account is through Navy Federal Credit Union. My business bank account is through Navy Federal Credit Union. So I don't need to have multiple banks. I don't want to be dealing with that. It's just too much of a, it's too, I'm busy. It's just too hard for me to track. That is why I try to simplify my processes. I know exactly who I'm banking with. I know exactly how many bank accounts I have within that banking system. Um, so milestone payments, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a little about record keeping. We're also going to talk about trust and verification, and also like due diligence. We're going to cover that, the importance of that. The platforms, like where do I go to hire people and where can you go to hire people? We're going to talk about that too. Security, obviously, NDAs, depending on how sensitive your work is, it's good to have that NDA written. And also, you need a lawyer to do that. You need an attorney, whether it's a US side attorney or a Nigerian side attorney. You're going to need a lawyer to help you draft an NDA. Very, very important. It just shows that you're in business and it shows that you know exactly what you're doing. Another thing too is like the cultural understanding. Now, there's the Nigerian way of working, and there's also the United States way of working. So those cultural differences, it's good for you to know this ahead of time. So you know about expectations and how they work and deliverables. These are the things that you know. I'm not saying that you should set your expect. Nigerians tend to work a little bit more on it doesn't mean that the work isn't good. They do good work. I've been hiring Nigerian workers for 5 years. But what you have to do as an employer is you have to bring your employees up to the standards and the behaviors that you want. And this is very important. You want to set this up as early as possible. These are the standards that I'm looking for. These are the deliverables. These are the dates that I want the deliverables to be delivered to me. This is my communication mode. Earlier, I talked about that time zone difference. You got to communicate that as well, because the last thing that you want is for someone to be reaching out to you at 2 a.m. in the morning when you are sleeping. And vice versa. It goes the same way too. You don't want to be reaching out to your workers in Nigeria while they're sleeping. So understand that usually, so let's say, for instance, you're on the Pacific coast, the west side of the United States, and your work hours are what, 9 a.m. to let's say 5 p.m. That is late at night in Nigeria. So these are the things that you really have to consider. It's no different than if you were to hire someone. I mean, I've been in a situation when I was in a corporate, when I was in corporate America. I mean, I worked with people in India, and the time zone difference was something that I had to factor in um, as well in order to be successful. So leverage the diaspora networks. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about thinking globally and also acting locally. You got to be able to blend some of the US standards with local realities for best results. So now let's go back to the beginning of this. As a US based company looking for local talent in Nigeria, how do you go about finding talent? How do you go about recruiting talent? You want to work with a recruiting firm. You want to work with a recruiting firm in Nigeria. Now, if you are a solopreneur, um, meaning you're the one, you own the company, you're doing the hiring, you can either choose to work with a recruiting firm or you could choose to work with a recruiter. There are so many of them in Nigeria. I have a buddy actually, he's in that industry. He's actually based in Canada, but he recruits Nigerian workers for Canadian companies. Even though he sits in Canada, he can do the same thing for US companies. So you want to work with a recruiter because they know the talent pool a lot better. Again, it depends on what you are trying to do. It's a different thing if you are, let's say, a diaspora and you are looking at hiring someone for, let's say, sourcing, okay, for exporters or importers. That if you don't have a network of people or a platform where you can go to source for these people or find these people, you can easily go online. And I'm going to tell you, actually, before I go into that, let me talk more about the US side as far as like companies goes. So obviously, um, okay, so you find a recruiter or you're working with a recruiting company, how much or what is the percentage, like what is the fee? It's the same thing, it's the same concept as here. So these recruiters charge anywhere from 10% to 20% of the annual salary of that worker. Okay. Anyone that is offering just anything less, if you have a recruiter that's saying, okay, come with me, uh, I'll take on this project for you. I'm going to help you find talent in Nigeria to work for your company, and my fee is 7%. That is low. You're not going to get the best from that recruiter. That's actually very cheap. Most United States companies pay anywhere between the lowest you should expect to pay as far as like the fee is 15% of that candidate's annual salary. A sweet spot is always 20%. If you are working with a recruiter or a recruiting company and you're offering 20%, they are going to literally work for you. They are going to go above and beyond because that is industry standard. Some recruiting agencies and some recruiters may even charge 25% or even 30% of that candidate's annual salary, but they have to be like the cream of the crop. They really have to have that track record. Now, the people who do that, I'm not saying that there are people who do that. There's a lot of people who handle that, who pay, who you have to pay that percentage to. But those ones are more in the specialized skill. They focus on specific industries. They may focus on just finding you an accountant, or they may just focus on web development, technology skills, technology candidates. Those ones can charge 25-30% of that candidate's annual fee. But if they are, let's say, a generalist recruiter that handles any and every skill set out there, from construction to accounting to general labor to customer service to marketing and advertising, when they generalize like that, still aim for a baseline 20% commission. And another thing you should also put into that clause is, so let's say they bring you a candidate and the candidate does not work out for whatever reason. The candidate doesn't work out. The candidate wasn't able to do the job. They may have interviewed well, and they're just not able to perform the job. You got to have that in the agreement with that recruiter or that recruiting company that they must replace that candidate for you free of cost within 6 months. And most of them will agree to that. Okay. So if you are on the other end, you are not a solopreneur and you have an in-house recruiting team or an in-house hiring team, have them work with the recruiting firm or the recruiter that's going to get you the talent in Nigeria. Now, as far as like platforms, like where do you go to look for, if you're just starting out, where do you go to look for these recruiters or you look for talent? Social media. Instagram is one of the best platforms for you to find, for you to actually hire directly, or for you to find recruiting companies or recruiter in Nigeria to help you pull candidates and review resumes if you don't want to do that. But remember, the critical thing is here. You got to absolutely make sure that you list the top three skill set that you are looking for in that candidate. That if that candidate were to possess that skill set, you would hire them on the spot. Because there's no time for you to sit there and be wasting looking through resumes. So you should be optimizing to actually hire the candidate. And as a recruiter, you should be optimizing to ensure that only the best candidate that meets the requirements of that employer is sent to that employer. Okay. So now another platform too, outside of Instagram, for instance, in my case, when I mean, when I started this working in Nigerian, I didn't have anybody to reach out to. I literally had to do it from scratch, just through just sheer determination and sheer guts. There weren't any platforms out there. There wasn't one out there that I can reach out to based on the standards that I was looking for. So when I was looking for an engineer to bring on a contract basis or on an as needed basis to build my property for me, I went on a platform called GG, JIJI.ng. So check out that platform. It's one of the best platforms out there for you to find engineering talent. If you are in the export import space and you're looking at finding or hiring a freight forwarding agent, if you don't have a direct referral, gg.ng is one of the best, most underrated platforms out there that you can go to look for whatever you want to look for. Just go in there and just search freight forwarder, export import, building engineer. There are categories on GG where you can go to and there's a drop down menu where you could select the state that you are looking looking for. So in our case, we operate primarily in two states. We operate in Akwa Ibom State. We also operate in Lagos. So when you drop that menu down, you select Akwa Ibom State, and then you just type in whatever you're looking for. If there are professionals there, they're going to pop up. And a lot of them, they have like there was a way where clients can actually leave feedback. So you could actually read their feedback. And if anyone strikes you as somebody that you can work with, you can reach out to them and begin the communication and the vetting process through GG. So you look at social media. YouTube is also a great way. I mean, most of my clients, I would probably say 90% of my clients find me on YouTube. Okay. 90% of the people who are looking for export solutions, export advisory, export consultations, they find me on YouTube. So YouTube is also a great way for you a great platform for you to go and look for talent. The good ones, like the really, really international standard talent, they are going to have a YouTube presence. Whether it's a YouTube presence talking about their work, they are going to have it. So you want to look at the activity. How frequently are they posting on YouTube? How engaged are they on YouTube? If they are engaged on YouTube, you know one thing, they know technology, which you are going to need. They know how to communicate. Very, very important. They know how technology works. So you're looking at YouTube, you're looking at gg.ng, JIJI.ng. You're also looking at you should also be looking into like social media, like Facebook. I don't really use Facebook as much as I use, let's say, Instagram. But over the past 5 years, I've been able to build a network of professional workers. These are people that I've worked directly with, spanning all of the sectors that I talked about: technology, creative services, professional services, construction and trade support. Over the past 5 years, I've been able to build a network of workers in that sector. So if you are looking at hiring within that sector, even beyond that, if it's not listed, reach out to me and go to mberiket.com/contact. Let me know what it is that you're looking for, and we'll work together in helping you find the best talent for your company and also for your project as well. So again, that's it. I think we've covered quite a bit. I'm gonna keep it short today. We have 35 minutes and 24 seconds. So I'm just gonna recap quickly before we go here. It's why you should hire Nigerian talent. The talent pool is there. The cost advantage is there. You are able to actually get more. Okay, so whether you want to bring somebody on full time, you can do that. Whether you want to bring someone on a on a short term contract, pay as you go basis, you could do. Flexibility is there, and I think that the reason why people aren't looking into the pool of talent in Nigeria is because number one, they're just not aware. And I hope that they're just not aware that such exists. Because prior to me working in Nigeria, if I ever needed someone to do something for me, whether it's graphic design or web design, I always look at talent in Pakistan. I'll look at the Indian talent on platforms like Fiverr and Upwork and all of that. But I'm telling you right now, a great way, especially for Nigerian in the diaspora, to support Nigerians back home is have an open mind, look into hiring Nigerian talent to do whatever it is that you need done. From web design to construction, you don't like. I'm traveling to Nigeria in January of 2026. I've been doing this now every year for the past 5 years just to go and meet my team and supervise. But I'm telling you, if I weren't happy with the people, and again, you're gonna go through again if you're in this for the long term, guys, you're going to go through quite a bit. Again, it depends on the standard that you want. You're gonna go through quite a bit of people until you find that right team for you. Over the past 5 years, I've had to hire and fire and hire and fire and hire and fire. But one thing that I'm going to tell you, avoid family members. It's just too close for comfort. Whether it's today or whether it's tomorrow or whether it's a year from now, eventually you are going to have an issue if you are hiring family and friends to work for you. Optimize for success early on. Hire professionals. So reach out to me, guys. Again, I mean, I offer US Nigeria advice, consulting for those in the import export space, looking at market entry at both markets, US Nigeria. Are you building your construction space, or even as you're looking for a land, you're looking for a realtor, people in the real estate space. I've built that network to be able to support you if you need. And also, again, as far as like payment, obviously payment is important. We talked about if you choose to pay in US dollars, if you are based as a US company, if you choose to pay in US dollars, you can do that. But if you happen to have a Nigerian bank account, I always advise you to pay in Naira. It's just so much easier. That is what I do. I have multiple USD accounts in Nigeria, but I still choose to pay in Naira. It's just easy for everybody. It's easy for me to transact. And that way I'm able to sort of hedge my money based on the current exchange rate. So I always keep my USD in the United States. And then based on the current if it's higher, I'm going to dump more USD in Nigeria, converted to Naira, obviously. And if the exchange rate drops, I keep my USD in the United States. So that's a strategy you should also think about. Try as much as possible to pay locally in Naira if you can. If not, Payoneer is a good one. Avoid PayPal. Um, I've heard people have problems with PayPal, but Payoneer for as long as I've known U.S. companies who have hired talent in Nigeria and they've paid in USD, Payoneer, Payoneer is the platform that they use to transact. Okay, so hope that helps, guys. I just want to put this out there. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, mberiket.com/contact. My name is Rich Mberiket. I am based in the United States, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one. All the best.